Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Complete Game, episode 51. I am your co-host, Curt Schilling, and over there on the right is my father, Curt. We got
In
a
my granddad hat. In my granddad hat.
in the
Got
granddad
one,
hat,
one coming.
getting ready. Yep,
What? What's your countdown?
we're circling 20 days right now till the
20 days.
expected birth, but we're gonna throw it around the MLB for a little bit here. The Brewers have won their straight game on a walk-off home run today, which ended up being at the end of the poor end receiving end for the Mets, who Edwin Diaz gave up a walk-off home run in a game they were up 5-0 at one point in. And on the other side of New York, they lost again to Houston and now fall behind the Red Sox, who are now 3 games back of Toronto. Milwaukee and Boston, those two teams right there, just all-time vibes teams. If you look at any press clippings or see anything that comes out of either of those locker rooms, they look like they're just having the most fun of all time.
Hey, you might want to mention too that the Rockies are losing 12-3 in the sixth inning, and the Rockies starting pitcher gave up 10 earned runs and 12 hits in 4 2/3 and sports an 8.37 ERA.
To a
Just
team
thought
that
I'd mention
traded away two of their best 5 hitters, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Seattle was the other team I had on the vibes check, and in a very, very timely fashion, we are on episode 51 here, and the Seattle Mariners retired Ichiro Suzuki's 51, and are going to build a statue of him, and had Randy
Yeah.
Johnson there, another famous 51, to celebrate. Just some great moments from that. The
Well,
speech,
hold on. Let's stay modern day. Cal Raleigh hit 2 yesterday to get 44. He hit another one today for 45.
third all
Uh,
time on the catcher
yeah.
list.
Pretty unbelievable season, and any fantasy manager that drafted him, yours truly, great pick.
He's got 43 games to club 5 more home runs to beat the record. You think he's got, or 4 more home runs to beat the record? You think he got it in 40
Yeah,
games? Yeah, I do too.
yeah, because you know what? His nickname, the Big Dumpster, like dumper, like he's just a down home guy. He's just riding the wave. But that being said, I promise you, he's going to sleep a little differently every night and waking up a little differently every day because of the attention.
For sure.
And so I don't want to see that happen. I want to see it play out and see him do what he's done.
Yeah, me
So
too. The cool Seattle stat I had, the last 10 games, like I just said, Milwaukee and Boston also on the All Vibes club right now. Seattle also, the last 10 games, has 20 home runs, 20 stolen bases, and that's the first stretch in MLB history over 10 games where nobody's gotten caught stealing, that they've had 20 homers and 20 stolen bases.
God dang it. I'm gonna have to start looking at these stats because I feel like it's almost getting like mainstream media, like they're just making stuff up and not thinking we're gonna check them on it because that just sounds impossible.
Yeah. Well, I got it from
Yeah,
OptiStats
no,
right here.
yep.
And then in the other news, what a little cleanup from last week. We got a lot of reaction to the Kyle Schwarber MVP talk, so I wanted to just give Shohei Ohtani his flowers because again, not doubting or saying that he shouldn't be the MVP, he's still minus 900 and clearly having a massive impact on the field, scoring 30 more runs for his team than anyone else in Major League Baseball. Where, I mean, you made a point about that beforehand, right? Where that's a team stat. Obviously, that means guys are knocking him in, but
But you have to be on base to get knocked in. The percentage of times you're on base to the percentage of times you score is a number that he's probably well above, obviously. This hasn't been the season. You remember right when we walked into opening day, Dodgers had swept in Japan. Oh my God, they're going to win 160 games. And it's been a season of trials and tribulations for them. But they'll find their way in, and we'll see. We'll go from there.
and lastly, another little update from we were talking a couple of weeks ago, a couple episodes ago about how the Guardians have been playing some great baseball, and even at that point they were still 8.5 back. Well, the Tigers have started to come back down to earth, and now the Guardians are only 5 games back. So there's enough time left in this season, a month and a half, where you can claw back, especially if the Tigers continue to play like they have, which is about 500 baseball since the All Star break. The Guardians have
Yep.
won 5 straight, so just wanted to give
But
them a
that
shout
just
out.
shows you, right? That just shows you how hard it is. in a 10-game stretch, they went 500, and the Guardians played hot at 8-2, and they only picked up 3 games, right? You got to be, so they have to be over the next 20 games. They have to go 20-0, and the Tigers have to go 14-6 to tie, or they have to go 14-6, and the Tigers have to go 8-12. You know what I'm saying? It's a really, those numbers become very big this late in the year. Not so much in the West, where the Mariners are a game back of the
They're
Astros.
either a game or a half game back.
Yeah, they're a game. I think going into today they were a game.
Yeah, a game back.
And yeah, yep,
And they're officially in the wild card now. The Mariners.
yeah, yeah.
Like solidified themselves above the Yankees, 3 games up. So.
Yep, they won what?
Yan-
They won what? 6 in a row? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the Yankees are half a game up on the Guardians for that last wild card spot now. So just think about
And
where we were talking about them a month ago.
I have been paying attention closely. I went back and rummaged through the Texas Rangers pitching. Major league low, 423 runs against. They're plus 59 despite only scoring 482 runs. To give you an example, the Dodgers have scored 607, and the Tigers have scored 575, and the Red Sox 591. They've scored 100 runs less, but they've given up almost 200 runs less with DeGrom and that whole thing.
I mean,
selling well.
And you're a giant run differential guy, right? Look at where they are at in terms of everybody around them. The Red Sox, the Mariners are in the wild card right now at plus 34. They are the only team with a worse differential that isn't in a AL East, AL West, AL Central spot.
Right, and that generally means that if you looked at their I can't remember what it's called, Pythagorean win-loss. Pythagorean generally checks to run differential. If you're plus X, then you should have this record. If you're minus X, you should have this record. Their plus 34 is not a 12 games above 500 number. They should be much closer to 500, which tells you they're winning the close games as opposed to like the Rangers are plus 59 and just a game over 500. They should be better than that. That tells you probably losing some games late and not winning the close ones.
What in your experience does that boil down to, or is it too big of a sample size with how long the MLB season is?
Well, that's when you got to dive into the numbers, and that's usually what your season ticket holders and your online trolls will come out with. Like they're plus 59. However, they suck because X, Y, or Z. I mean, the Rangers I think got swept today. But they got swept because Zach Wheeler was pitching for the Phillies, and he did Zach Wheeler things.
And Harrison Bader, shout out, robbed a home run. Looked like he was walking to grab a cup of coffee. Like, the most casual robbed home run I've seen in a long time.
And you've heard me say this. Ken Griffey Jr. was one. Eddie Murray was another. Andrew Jones was another. Some guys are so athletic that they don't look like they're putting out the effort that they are. They just do it so much athletically, so much better.
Absolutely.
So
we're talking. It's like Schwarber's bat speed. It looks effortless.
Well, like Schwarber's swing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then we had the first female MLB umpire today.
Dude,
and I don't know. I mean, I'll put the picture, the screenshot up on the screen right now. Everyone's probably seen it. It is going to be the most viral clip of this woman's career, probably. And it was about 6 to 12 inches inside.
No, it wasn't 12. It was in, but it was a ball.
It was a ball.
A lot of times, and in defensive umpires, they do this. A lot of times, they'll call that first strike. I told you the Palermo story. My first start, Steve Palermo just said, he came out to the mound before the first pitch, and he said, hey, just throw something close. I'll call the strike, and we'll get going. Like, that gets the game going.
I think that's an important thing to know that's happened because I mean it's not a total excuse, but it's the sports world. It's a male dominated world. We're gonna hear the girl got it wrong, of course.
Right.
But I mean
I want to see her, and if we can find it, I'm gonna get her first game scorecard. I'm gonna be very curious to see how consistent she was because Pam Postema, who was pre-Gehrig, was the first female umpire in AAA, and I was in AAA in the league that she was umpiring, and always liked her effort. I liked her personality. Guys try and get on women umpires, verbally, and you always test them. But she was not a. I didn't think she was a very good ump. She wasn't consistent. I didn't think she was great on the bases, but that was just as a player. But she never made the big leagues, and she was right there. And in this day and age, I hate to think with all the woke and the DEI, I'm gonna want to believe that she earned her way there. The problem is going to be, and I felt a lot of guys, and even a lot of minority umpires were very cognizant of their role in the big leagues. And we had a guy, Laz Diaz, who I'm not sure if he's retired or not, but he's an old veteran ump. And we always used to comment about CB Buckner. CB Buckner was a great guy. He was a horrible, horrible umpire, and much of it felt like he was in the big leagues because he wasn't white. And that's, you don't want to see that. You want to see these guys and gals now earn that spot, because you're judging the best players in the world. The game is faster than anything you've ever seen, and it's hard. And I think, what was the number last year? The challenge calls at first went like 50-50 almost. Like 50% of the challenge calls at first last year were overturned.
Yeah.
They missed half. The quote unquote best in the world missed half. So you understand that as a player.
I just think it's very, very funny at a time that we're talking about robot umpires and the margin for error being, especially in the bigger markets of NFL and like sports that have more replay involved,
Right.
It's crazy that we're just now giving this girl a shot, because it's almost a no-win situation, right? I mean, if she's unbelievable, she doesn't get talked about. The only way she's a news story after today is if she makes a mistake. So it's just, that part of it feels shitty. But I would love the mic'd up. I'd love her mic'd up, just to hear guys how they talk to her differently.
Right.
Because there's some guys who are they're not going to treat her the same way, but then there's other guys who don't give a shit. Female, male, that's a strike, and this.
Yeah. So there's gonna be some interesting conversations, but I don't want to ever see the robo ump. I think that would change the game in ways that no one would enjoy. I think you would end up having you'd see almost your last 300 hitter. And I'm probably exaggerating, but if the rule book strike zone is enforced, I believe hitting will become infinitely harder for hitters.
I have a take on the electronic umps. I think if there's ever electronic umps, the strike zone will change. I don't think it'll be a traditional box, because guys.
Well, the rulebook strike zone is armpits to hollows of the knees.
That's what I'm saying. I think that'll be the next thing to be changed. Because I mean, if we're putting ghost runners on second base in extra innings, this isn't the same game anymore. So I don't have a doubt that they'll mess with every aspect of baseball until it's the most viewership friendly sport out there.
Well, here's the thing: a lot of people don't know. When you come to the plate, is your strike zone measured from the armpits to the knees with you standing upright?
That's
Or is it because you remember Ricky Henderson used to be down in that real little crouch? Well, in that crouch, a ball at his neck would be a strike.
Or how about Uke with his elbow up in?
Right. No.
Or Counsell.
But right.
Does he get an extra 2 inches of strike zone because he's waving a firecracker?
Well, I mean, and that becomes a thing that will change hitters.
But that's what I mean.
I think shrink my strike zone. If I can shrink my strike zone, I'm going to make myself smaller at the plate, especially if I'm like Aaron Judge. I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's another, like, Aaron Judge is.
Think of the difference. Think of the difference. If I'm pitching as a command guy, Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve. One is a big screen TV. The other one is a iPhone strike zone. And, that there's a lot of implications I don't think they're sure of that I want to see it full season in AAA with every team in every game.
What, a robot ump? Or if they're going to do that? Yeah.
Yep. No. Yeah, we'll do it in spring training, blah, blah, blah. And, I don't know. It my God, you can't argue balls and strikes with a robot ump.
That's
it is or it isn't.
That is the ultimate thing that I think it kills barroom arguments about your sport. which that is the most critical for. I mean, we were talking about it a little bit pre-show. We don't have to get into the whole argument here, but I feel like in my lifetime, baseball is of the four major sports that's gone down in terms of public discussion, viewership. Like as a kid who grew up with a phone and social media, it is the sport that appears the least on my timeline, despite it being my second favorite sport. Like it's it is a
Baseball has lagged horribly in the social media online space. Horribly. Because total attendance and revenue, it blows basketball away. But
double the games.
somehow, yeah, yeah.
Double the games with half the viewership. I mean, we can go into all of it at some point. But the for me personally, I think that the MLB needs to get their shit together on social media, one, because we talked about this before. You and I are not NBA fans. I could tell you what happens in the NBA on a given night because the algorithm that the NBA uses pushes that stuff to me because I'm a sports fan, not because I'm an NBA fan.
Honest to God, I get more social media notifications and pushes for the WNBA than I do for Major League Baseball.
Which is crazy. Because have you ever gone into those settings and flipped on WN? No, right? That's what I'm saying. The MLB, their app is terrible. Watching on their app, researching for this show, MLB.com is the last place I go to, and it's only for standings. So there's my little rant about that. We can probably get into that at a different time. But do you have anything else?
No, I wanted to call out the Ichiro statue. Ichiro's getting a statue, and it's our 51st episode, and I got to tell you, hold on. I got dogs fighting.
Kurt Vic. Laz Diaz.
So, yeah. Ichiro getting a statue. We're on our 51st episode. RJ was there. And I got to tell you, when he played, he was a guy who was on the extremes. Like psychologically, you never knew what he was a very deep thinker. And he did most of his stuff in Japanese. And you always wondered if his interpreters weren't like twisting the knife a little bit to the media with like, did he really just say that? Like he was a very deep guy. And when he starts the speech out with, I want to begin this speech with a quote by one of the most famous,
my favorite philosopher,
Kenneth Griffey Jr.
I forget what his actual first name is. I always forget that his first name's not Kenneth.
But it was absolutely exactly Ichiro. His Hall of Fame speech was eloquent and full of class and everything you'd expect from him, and very much the same way I expect Shohei Ohtani's to be when he goes in. But listening to him talk, he clearly loved Seattle. Seattle loved him. He's one of the greatest baseball players to ever live, and I say that because of his hit total in America. But Ichiro was a 5-tool player. He hit for average, he hit with power. Defensively, he was an outstanding defender. Some of his throws are going to be all-time forever videos. He truly was an all-around player. And I love the stat. I think it's like all the 3,000 club, how many hits they had at age 27. And he had 0.
Because he hadn't come here yet.
Right. People can't.
Not that he had 0. He had 0 here. He had what, 1,000, 2,000 in Japan.
Right. But if you think about that, he had 0 here. So his first 10 years, he had 200 hits. He only had 2,000. Right. So he had it. I think he has one of the highest single season hit totals, like 262 or something like that. But I got to tell you, one of my personal highlights was I struck him out one time. And it was in a big situation in Fenway, and I threw the ball out of the game.
What did you say? How many hits for Ichiro?
What?
His record?
Like 262?
262 on the nose, 2004.
Yeah.
Great guess.
And no, I remember. I read.
I was going to say, when you said it, it sounded right. That's why I looked it up.
Yeah, no.
That's so ridiculous. Just think about it. How many games are in an MLB season? 160?
162.
Oh, a hit and a half a game. That is so ridiculous. Is Ichiro the most beloved baseball player since I've been born? Universally? I don't know a single person that says a bad thing about him.
He's up there. He's in the top 5.
I can't think of another one that doesn't have a little something to their, like he was a
Well, there were guys that were beloved, like Sean Casey was beloved by everybody.
But I mean,
right?
like a Barry
right, Hall
Bonds,
of Fame.
like a guy
Right,
that
right,
like
right, right.
5-year-olds knew his name if they watched a baseball game.
Rivera, maybe.
Mariano Rivera. Yep, that's a good one.
Jeter. I mean, the anti-Yankee hatred was true, but even Boston fans gave him a standing O.
Jeter, but I think that people would the argument against Jeter is always that like he was
Right.
not that good. Like Ichiro
Right.
is maybe the greatest baseball player ever. You could make that argument. Like if you include Japan and all he's done
Right.
for baseball, like
Right. I just remember, and God rest his soul, Pete was bitter about that. People talking about it, like, he doesn't have 4,000. He got Japan is AAA baseball, blah blah
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, and it is for the most part, but
yeah, and we don't like we're not saying it's MLB hits. Like you said, he had zero
right.
when he was 27
Right.
years old. But what he did in that time, basically coming
Well,
in right before his prime, like
hold on. Since I got into baseball, 1992, when I had my first good year, in the last 33 years, Hideo Nomo, Ichiro Suzuki, and Hideki Matsui, and now Otani, have done more to internationalize baseball than any other players alive. The 4 a.m. watching opening day in Japan became commonplace when Nomo was pitching. And Ichiro took it to another level. And we've heard the Sasaki's and Yamamoto's. There's been a lot of
I mean
another
Matsuzaka when you played.
right.
There's always
Ice
been
Cube. They're
hype.
all coming over here throwing 100.
Yeah, with
They
the
come here
secret
and they
pitch.
throw 92. Right. But I remember, and I totally just brain farted his name. The Yankees had signed a guy, a pitcher, and I pitched against him the day I struck out 17 Yankees, and he got pulled in like the second or third inning, and he actually committed suicide a couple years back. But Steinbrenner called him a fat toad after that game.
Jesus.
And yeah.
Do you know what? That was 97?
Yeah.
I'll try and find it real quick. Oh, it was 5-1, 16 punch-outs.
Against the Yankees, I punched out
16.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah. Hideki Irabu.
Hideki Irabu. And he was the big, let's go steal a guy from Japan that winter, and they paid him colossal money, and he ended up being a guy who didn't translate very well.
Yeah, he never posted an ERA under 4.
No. But after that game, Steinbrenner called him a fat toad in the paper. I remember that.
I've never heard of that story. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah. And then I think he committed suicide.
I mean, I'm definitely making sure that's not here. Like,
yeah.
before we close that story out, I want to make sure that that's
it was
not
a sad story.
Yeah, he passed away. Yeah, how you described.
Yeah,
sad.
Yeah, very sad. But that was a big story. And then you had Byung-Young Kim from Korea, there were a lot of guys. AJ Burnett was a nasty guy. Clemens was a nasty guy. Kevin Brown was a nasty guy. For me as a pitcher, watching guys thinking, oh my God, what a nightmare this guy would be to hit off of. I don't think I ever thought anybody was as nasty as BK when he was on. Because he was a submariner. He threw from way down under, but he threw in the low to mid 90s.
That was the first person I had ever seen do that. So when I thought how people feel about robot umps and the ghost runner at second, I felt that way about Byung-Young Kim when I was 6 or 7 years old because you were my dad, and anything other than the perfect shoulder slot was blasphemy. So like watching him was absurd.
Well, I'll go back in the time machine for our older listeners. There's a guy named Stan Belinda when I was coming up in the minor leagues. He was with the Pirates, and he was the first guy I ever saw throw sidearm to down under at 90. He threw hard, and it was absurd because if you go back to the 70s and 80s, Kent DeColvey was the first real Dan Quisenberry, Kent DeColvey. They were the first sidearm under. They were 85, 86, 87 mile an hour guys who had funky deliveries, and then you had a Byung-Young Kim who's throwing 93, and he called his slider his upshoot because it literally broke up and into a left-handed hitter.
Yeah.
Which, you can
it's
imagine.
like a softball pitch.
Well, it's exactly like a softball pitch, but more importantly, you can't practice off a pitching machine. and the at bat I remember never forget. I want to say it was Tomas Perez of the Phillies. A 2-strike pitch. BK threw his upshoot. Tomas swung, and halfway through the swing, he tried to stop, and the ball hit him in the cup,
Yeah.
and he struck out.
That's
like
unbelievable.
That's going from, oh my God, I'm going to crush this pitch. Oh my God, it's going to hit me in the dick.
Yeah.
Like,
in half a second.
Right. Well, yeah, 7/1000th of a second or something stupid. But all of that is to say that I think more so than any other of the other three, hockey has always been international. But I think baseball has done a better job internationally than any of the other sports. I know the NFL goes over to England, they want to play whatever, that's fine. But they don't have a team or players, right? You don't have Japanese guys in the NFL.
I'll say that the NBA probably has like the only argument that's even remotely close to MLB.
I think
just because of the European.
In the international audience, I think it's hockey. I think it's baseball, firm 1-2. And then I would argue the NBA is kind of on the outside looking in, still international because of all of the Luka Doncic and all those guys. I mean, that's just been amazing to watch.
Ever since LeBron went to China, and then the Luka Doncic's of the world have become the number one NBA players, that Europe and China in particular boost their. This is all conjecture for both of us, but.
The thing about it is
that's just the feel from my social media and what the MLB is not doing.
That's your generation too. Your generation has a different feel for that stuff than mine does. And the one thing about baseball is the only professional sport of the four. Well, no, hockey is too. Where it's the number one sport in Japan too. Like everybody is born and raised to play baseball in Japan. The Japan high school championships for the country are like the World Cup in Japan.
Basketball is like that in Europe.
Daisuke, huh?
Basketball is like that in Europe now. In
Spain,
and Portugal, and Italy. Yeah. There's certain, soccer. We're not talking about soccer. Football. We're not. That's not in this conversation of the four major U.S. sports. That's where we're allowed to draw conjecture a little bit. And again, we're just talking from what we believe and what we see, and that's where I brought this up before the show about. It bothers me that the MLB is not as good at this stuff. Like it should not be so hard for me to put together 5 minutes of notes for this show, but it is because every resource they have to view their game is a 4, 5, 6 click verification process where you don't save my sign in and then I have to. They make it hard to watch the game, which is the opposite of what it should be. And we should also preface
all those conversations with we're not even talking about soccer's on another level. And I begrudgingly admit that because I'm an American who grew up with American sports and I don't like soccer, but soccer is far bigger and far more international than anything else. I mean, the World Cup is a $6 billion revenue generating event.
And
which is,
I'll just make the one point about basketball because again, I'm not a basketball fan. I hate that I'm having to argue for it, but why is soccer so universal?
Because of the athletes are from all over the world.
No, but I'm saying, why is it the most played game in the world?
Oh, it's easy. It doesn't cost anything.
You need a ball and a net, right?
Right. Oh, no,
that's why basketball has also grown exponentially in these poor countries.
That's why that's the thing killing hockey in the United States.
In the world, yeah.
In the United States more than anything because we don't have hand-me-down programs and inner-city programs to allow kids, and it is absolutely an elitist sport in the sense that you have to have a lot of money to raise your kid in a hockey rink.
It is, to talk about a different category altogether, like the country club sports, it is right below that in terms of tennis and golf are up here. Hockey's right here, and then baseball, football, everything else.
I would put hockey right alongside them.
You've paid for it. I don't know.
Yep.
So that's. But my point
and
being
I can remember you two idiots were goalies, which is the most expensive position. I remember going through as a parent when I was a kid. An Easton bat was an enormous purchase, and I can remember going through as a kid and buying your hockey gear and thinking to myself, how does a working class family afford this?
Well, even growing up in our situation where, obviously money wasn't a topic we had to worry about. Like baseball equipment, I still was explained that I still to this day remember being in I think I was in 6th grade and we went to Toronto and I bought a liquid metal bat it was like a little bit cheaper in Canada because for whatever reason, right? Hockey, it was so ridiculous that you couldn't even give us like a structure because it's like, all right, well, there's $2,500 for pads, $2,000 for rink time.
Let's go back to the obvious factor here too is you and I can go out and play wiffle ball in front of our house. We can play soccer in the street. You can't play hockey. You can play hockey on skates. You can play street hockey. You can't get on the ice. And that's a huge stumbling block to getting into it.
I didn't mean to take us down the full rabbit hole.
No, that's what we do the show for. I mean, we don't have to sit here and talk about runs and RBIs and batting average.
Do you want to guess teammate before we get out of here?
Let's go.
All right, I would put this one in the medium to difficult range.
All right.
I'll just give you that ahead of time.
Dolly says she wants to guess.
You can bring her up to help. So anyone that hasn't been here before, guess your teammate. We got 5 clues for a former teammate of my dad's, ranging from very hard to very easy. The first clue. An 11-year MLB journeyman. I played for 7 different teams, yet I only played 100-plus games in one season.
Okay. I think for me to have any chance at the first guess, which I play with so many guys.
First clue's almost always going to be a
right,
stab
but
in the
I
dark.
I think you're going to have to put like some hint of I played with you or the only year I played with you.
Well, I couldn't do that this time, and you'll see why. So second clue, I was actually your teammate in 2 stops during my career. Both of them were your National League teams. So that's why I didn't include it in the first one.
I played with him in Arizona,
and Philly,
Philadelphia, Houston.
Not Houston, I'll give you that, because they're not a National League team anymore. I honestly, I didn't even think about that at the time of this writing.
Philadelphia and Arizona. I should get this. I should get this right now.
You'd think so.
Right. Is it a pitcher?
I only played 100-plus games in one season in my career.
Okay. Who did I play with in Arizona that I played with in he had to have come to Arizona after we played together in Philly. All right, next.
I was an outfielder who bounced around and only saw 2 playoff runs, but was lucky that one of those playoff runs was the 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks, despite only being Midre Cummings, yep. Despite only being rostered for 27 games, including playoffs that season. So that's kind of the caveat.
Yep. Scored the tying run, scored the against the Cardinals in the Game 5 where Womack walked him off.
He played on 2 teams with you, but, for brief stints, so.
When did he... I remember us in Philly, but it was only briefly.
97, he got picked up off waivers.
Yep. Okay.
And then born in this, I thought this was crazy. I didn't know this, obviously. Born in the U.S. Virgin Islands, there was no high school baseball, so I played in open and amateur leagues until I moved to Miami my senior year, and then was drafted in the first round by the Twins the next season. Like that's
the
crazy.
Twins. I thought he was he made his name with the Pirates.
Yeah, so he was drafted by the Twins and played 5 seasons for the Pirates, and then he basically got traded every single year after that and never played a full season.
He had the one tool that you always traded for if you had a hole in your lineup, which was speed. He could run.
Yeah, but he played another cool part of my last clue. He played for 4 of the 5 teams you played for too, which is ironic. He played for the Orioles, Phillies, and he played for the Red Sox and Diamondbacks.
Yep. Wow. Okay.
So that was cool.
Bubba. That was fun. That was a good show.
Yeah.
Back on Sunday. Tuesday. Yep. Keep spreading the word, guys. We're going to grow
subscribe.
This thing.
Let us know. Yep. We are still at a very intimate. We get 2 to 250 recurring listeners over Spotify and YouTube right now. So we're at a very intimate place in this podcast where you guys have access to a major league pitcher. So if you have any questions, any scenarios, anything you'd like us to run through, please drop them in the comments. Let us know.
That question that got asked on the feed about
great point.
No, we'll take that up next episode.
All right.
Just remind me to
sounds good. Tim Palmer, we'll get to it next episode.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.
All right, we'll see you guys on Tuesday. Take care.